volume crank. That sounds even funnier with Jacob's voice that loud.
I'm trying to make
It's hilarious.
All right, hour 2. Let's talk a little Anthony Belton. Is that all right, guys?
Let's do it.
This is so professional.
Thick.
He is thick. You're right. So with Anthony Belton, obviously he played offensive line at NC State. So this was his offensive line coach. Tell me this guy doesn't look like he slapped somebody in the mouth, right? So I know I'm going to screw his name up, but he sounds off here and talks about Anthony Belton. All right, so Bill Huber of SI recently covered the Green Bay Packers' second-round pick of NC State offensive tackle Anthony Belton in the 2025 NFL Draft with insights from his offensive line coach, Garrett
Teji.
Teji
would be my thought.
I said Tajagu.
Teji?
I said Tajagu.
Tajagu.
Tajagu. That's what phonetically, right?
What's phonetically mean? I don't know.
I got hooked on
Garrett T.
Garrett what?
Garrett T.
Coach T.
All right, yeah, let's call him Coach T.
Coach T praises Belton's character, loyalty, work ethic, and intelligence, noting his decision to stay at NC State as his potential for NFL success. At 6'6", 336 pounds, Belton's rare athleticism make him a freak athlete, and Coach T believes his best is yet to come with the Packers. All right, so there you see he was actually at the Combine when Anthony Belton was there. I really like that shot right there because they're throwing up the Wolfpack symbol. So here are the quotes from Coach T. First and foremost, phenomenal kid, great young man, loves his teammates. Next quote, the things I love about him, like loyalty and camaraderie are big to him. All right. Next quote, every year I was here, he'd have schools trying to poach him, and he never went in the portal. The coach was calling his mom, talking about money, and they're just a very loyal family, very loyal kid, hard worker. That's probably my favorite quote, guys. The fact that multiple teams were trying to offer him more money than NC State was paying him to get him to transfer, and he wouldn't transfer because he was loyal to his teammates and his team. We kind of talked about that in the draft process too when we were doing the scouting and building the board. Like anytime I've seen a player that spent, all 4 or 5 years at the same school, that meant something to me. You know what I mean, Jacob? Like the fact that, there's nothing wrong with transfer. Don't get me wrong. You're going to get more money and help your family out. By all means, do your thing. But when someone chooses to stay, I don't know, that means something to me. I don't know if it's just the way I was raised and being raised in a Bacher family or what, but loyalty is everything to me, man. Mm-hmm. I love that aspect.
I think the Packers respect that too. If you recall, Mr. Tucker Kraft was getting calls from freaking Nick Saban in Alabama, seeing if he wanted to transfer, and he said, "No, I'm good. I'm going to stick up here at the Corn." And you look at then what Belton did here. Also, you look at Barron Sorrell. That's another guy that stayed, I believe, all 4 years there at Texas when he had some other opportunities to go other places. I think it does, especially nowadays with the NIL stuff and with the glitz and the glamour and the contracts and the money and all the stuff that you can get from just simply not being loyal. To me, if I was in the front office, I would totally look at somebody that was willing to stick it out, even when it's not necessarily the best of seasons. You know what I mean? That's the type of player that you want on your squad because you know that at worst case scenario, you got somebody that's going to keep that locker room together.
Yeah. Dead Fish, go ahead, Emilio.
No, that's exactly the kind of guy that you want. The one that's going to stay, he's for family, for football. That's all it's about. I feel like that you've seen that repetitively this year as well. Like you said, Jacob, going through something, but also just having love for family and the game itself is key to the Packers. I think that's why, those 30 visits are so key, being able to tell that from a person in person.
Yeah, definitely. Dead Fish says I already want him to get a second contract from the Packers. I'm with you on that, man.
What?
I really hope he pans out on the field. I do. And that's kind of the next quote here. I thought it was really cool. I know for a fact.
Hold on. Sorry. Bates is saying that he's saying it's pronounced Two Jacks.
That might be the
at least that's how they pronounce the street name in New Orleans. He's saying Two Jack. How?
I was pretty close. Then.
That's a cool name, though, by the way. Like Two Jacks. Coach Two Jacks. Let's go, man. I like it. Coach Tujak said, I know for a fact his best football is still ahead of him. We talk about players entering the league, ascending into the league. That seems to be the case for Anthony Belton. If I remember correctly, I want to say his best year was his final year in college. And he's one of those guys that he had a high pass blocking grade according to PFF, but when you turn on the tape, his run blocking is what sticks out. He's a mauler. We did the Chalk Talk the other night. If you guys haven't got a chance to check it out, you can actually go to our Patreon page. Just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You can find that whole write-up on Anthony Belton along with this one and everything else we do. And you'll see attached right at the top of the page is that Chalk Talk episode where we break down the tape of Anthony Belton. You can also find Matthew Golden's in there as well. And tomorrow, if we don't get to it tonight, which I don't think we will, tomorrow we're going to be doing a Chalk Talk on Savion Williams, and that video will be cut, edited, and put up there on his page as well. So we're going to keep all that stuff in there. Basically, our Patreon group is going to be the hub for your 2025 Green Bay Packers season is what it's going to be. It's going to be really, really nicely put together. So let's see here. His eagerness to learn is going to separate him, so he's kind of always growing, right? He takes a lot of pride in knowing what to do and when to do it. And again, he's a freak athlete at that size. You just don't see that at that size, what he can do. As Ted Thompson used to say, the good Lord only made so many big guys, right? You can't coach that. You can't. And the fact that he's got the athleticism to go with that frame of 6'6", 300 and whatever it was, 33 pounds is just insane. Another quote from Coach T says, I think the fact that Packers are interested in him enough to draft him in the second round, they'll make sure he gets what he needs. And that's kind of what we were talking about. When was the last time a second rounder didn't get on the field, for the Packers? Last year, it was Javon Bullard and Edgerrin Cooper. They both started, right? The year before, I'm trying to think who the second rounder was the year before.
Musgrave, right?
Musgrave, until he got hurt. He was higher.
He started, before Kraft. Yeah.
And then the year before that, I'm trying to
Christian,
think.
Was it?
Christian Watson. They got him on the field immediately. The precedent is there for him to start. Now, where does he start? That's the question. Does he jump into the right guard, spot and win that job and maybe take it from Jordan Morgan? I don't know. Does he take Rasheed Walker's spot? Now, the beat writers seem to think, and I believe it was Wildy and several other people talking, that the breadcrumbs that have been left by the front office is Jordan Morgan is going to be competing with Rasheed Walker for left tackle this year. And that kind of caught me off guard because I thought Anthony Belton would jump into that role and they would just keep Jordan Morgan at right guard. But as Matt LaFleur always says, we get your best five out there, I think, we're talking about the wide receiver room camp battle. We're talking about all these different camp battles that are going to be going on. Man, look at the edge room, right? We'll talk about Baron Sorrell here in a minute if we have time. The edge room and who's going to get that extra rotation, right? All that stuff. Offensive line camp battle, Emilio, it's going to be off the chain, bro. There's going to be like two positions that there's going to be 4 or 5 offensive linemen fighting their asses off for. I think it's going to be awful.
Because it's not like we didn't try to get Jordan Morgan out there last year too. I mean, he was a first round pick. Gave him opportunities, was in there for some starts, and that's something that Sean Ryan's got to be ready to show up if he wants that spot back. Rasheed's, I think, still maybe needs to show up to fight for that spot. And if Rasheed does win out, okay, fine. Maybe Belton's still there hanging around, and maybe Jordan Morgan takes right guard, whatever. But if it could be one of those things. It could be like Rasul. What if Rasheed plays for up to week 7 and it's like, oh wait, no, I think Belton's good to go. Like we have this with real nice compensation coming at us right now. They need a left tackle. And what if Rasheed is out, before the end of the season? I don't think that could happen, but there's like all these possibilities that you could dive into, having a little bit extra help there, and being ready for any type of injuries that could come their way.
Yeah, definitely. Greg Rice asked, was Morgan hurt before week 1? He hurt his shoulder in training camp, right? Mm-hmm. And then he re-aggravated it at the end of the year. So I know people like to pretend like he didn't earn the starting job. It wasn't like he was healthy. It wasn't like Sean Ryan beat him out for that job. And when he was healthy, they were rotating, right? So I think Jordan Morgan's going to be fine. I think we're going to look up in a year or two and go, he's one of our best offensive linemen. And it's obvious that what Goody's doing here, Jacob, is he's setting the stage for the next wave of offensive linemen. So, look, Elton ain't getting no younger, right? And when it's time for Elton to move on, whether it's in free agency or he decides to retire, I think he's 30 right now, right? Or he's going to be 30 this year.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
So you look at it, Zach Tom's in the future. We know that. Zach Tom's going to be here. Jordan Morgan's going to be a starter. I think Anthony Belton will be a starter. At left guard, you got Aaron Banks for at least the next 2, probably 3 years would be my guess, and maybe longer. So there's 3 starters right there, right? And, as Elton Jenkins moves on, now you can play center at a lot older age than all the other offensive line positions. I'm not trying to run Elton out of town. I hope he comes out and dominates at center. That's the one worry for me is there's no one else on that starting offensive line right now that I would feel comfortable going, he can play center other than Zach Tom, right? And I think Zach Tom could play it really, really well. But they obviously like him at tackle more than they do center. Mm-hmm. So it's important, Jacob, to roll those guys through, right? You got to keep that fresh batch ready to go. Is what the Packers have done well for so long. They had Chad Clifton at left tackle. What did they do? They drafted Bulaga. Well, Bulaga couldn't play left tackle. They kicked him to right. Lo and behold, a 4th or a 5th rounder, and David Bakhtiari ends up being an all-pro left tackle.
Yeah, and they do that cycle, and we all kind of grind. I almost said a bad word. We all kind of get a little bit upset at Goody. Myself too. I hate that we cut the string. Seemingly, we all think it's too soon, and then we watch what happens, and usually they're next year or another year, and they completely fall off. I mean, the wheels just fall off that. And it's a vicious game. The NFL, we always say, stands for not for long, and it's a rarity. In most organizations, it's a rarity to get 3 contracts, let alone 2, even make it past your rookie contract. So the Packers have been a really good evaluators of talent, especially in the offensive line room. I ate a slice of humble pie when I kind of balked at the Belton pick in round 2, and then all of a sudden I saw some film. I started thinking about it rationally, see what kind of an absolute man mover that dude is. He's a meat missile, but a stopper of meat missiles. He's like a brick wall. I mean, he's a beast. And like you said, you got to reset that pocketbook every few years. And if you don't, you really got to have a guy. As much as I love Rasheed Walker being a 7th round pick, that is what dreams are made of. But unfortunately, his dream when you're in the Packers organization is that you made that step, you were a 3-year starter, and you're going to go get that money. Somebody's going to pay you money. Somebody's going to pay you a lot of money. It's just probably not going to be the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you think about it, we're in the North, we're cold game situations, injuries, but on top of that, we want to be able to just road grade people. I think that, maybe you want, we had size at our offensive line beforehand, but this is size and power and, all of the above. The question, I mean, I would be excited, Matt, maybe brings him in as an extra tackle on one, play here or there, just to get him loose if he's not starting. Let's go heavy or let's go overload one side and just see if he can't wall down, and even you bring him out there, he could be the decoy of the whole play. You bring the big guy out there, just set him up over there and we'll run the opposite side. But it's, buck naked through the trailer park.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of butt naked through the trailer park, surprised O.J. Simpson's face in the chat says, reminds me of building an O-line the way Gruden did with the Raiders when they last had, you guessed it, Josh Jacobs at running back. Their average weight and height of the offensive line was 6'6", 336 pounds. And again, when you're running duo, a little bit different than just running outside zone. Outside zone, you want those guys that can get out there. Now, not that Anthony Belton can't do that because he's being praised for his athletic ability. Right. But running duo, the other thing too, when you're running inside zone or even outside zone, the bigger the offensive linemen are, that running back can get lost behind them. He can hide behind those offensive linemen more than he can to see them. So that's something I think goes unnoticed a lot for sure. All right, last couple quotes here from Coach T. Said he knows how to work and can and you can coach him hard. I think that's absolutely huge. Some guys you got to kind of tippy-toe around it. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to be too hard. This is a kid that evidently loves to be coached hard. A great human being, very good person was the other 2 quotes there. So really excited to see what Anthony Belton does, man, as a Green Bay Packer. Anything else?